Good evening, and welcome to Suffering in Silence with TMA on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay family, we're rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening is missing and murdered Indigenous women. Our co-host is Jennifer Peterkin, and we have with us for our special guest, Mary Weasel Bear of the TP Raisers. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or co-host, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you have resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, community, your local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. Jen, you want to say hello to the listeners on this evening?
Yes. Hi, my name is Jen Peterkin. I'm so happy to be with you all tonight, and I'm so happy that Mary's here with us as well. Thank you so much for being here. I am so happy to be a co-host on Suffering in Silence. I became a domestic violence advocate after my own experience with domestic violence in my marriage. And so I'm just happy to be here and to be able to contribute. Right now, I am working on launching my own project called The Human Experience. It is a blog and podcast storytelling, just to try to understand how we can all connect with each other as our experiences shape who we are as people. So the blog and podcast are not live yet, but hopefully soon. And for now, you can follow me on Instagram at GetVHX.
Thank you. So, Mary, please say hello and introduce yourself to our Luv Bay listeners.
I am my father's daughter. I am the beauty of my mother. I am the courage of my sisters. I am the strength of my aunties. I am resilient like my grandmothers. I am inspired by my nieces. And I am your daughter's friend. Also a voice that will not be silenced. My name is Mary Darlene Weaselbear. I am from my Indian name. My Lakota name is Owiahia, which translates to woman who wins. I am the third daughter to Connie and Pansy Tubals Weaselbear. I am also the proud auntie of 6 beautiful nieces. We come from the number 4 Payabia community on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, where I also work as a youth advocate and a missing and murdered Indigenous women's advocate.
Thank you so much. And your organization is TP Raisers. How can we contact you there?
Through TP Raisers, we're online www.thetpraisers.org. Also Mary at thetpraisers.org.
Thank you so much. So listeners, we want to start tonight with some resources as usual. And we first have for you the National Indigenous Women's Resource Center. Their website is www.niwrc.org. We also have Native Love. Their website is www.niwrc.org/Native Love. And we also have Native Alliance Against Violence, Oklahoma's Tribal Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Coalition Tribal Technical Assistance Provider. Their website is oknaav.org. And again, listeners, on tonight, our topic is missing and murdered Indigenous women. I want to start by sharing some information from the TP Raisers blog. This blog is from October 27th, 2021. Reconciliation through education. #NotInvisible amidst missing and murdered Indigenous women erasure. Activists shine a light on a crisis of violence against Native women. While missing persons cases involving white women often receive national attention, the stories of the more than 5,700 missing and murdered Indigenous women across the country often remain overlooked by news media and law enforcement. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Indigenous women in certain areas of the U.S. are 10 times more likely to be kidnapped or murdered than any other demographic and the perpetrators of these crimes often face no conviction. The federal government has recently undertaken efforts to address this crisis and begin tracking related data. 2 bills signed into law in October 2020, Savannah's Act and the Not Invisible Act, aim to increase coordination between tribal, state, and federal law enforcement to require the collection of data on MMIW and to allocate more resources to tribal governments for the investigation of MMIW cases. Deb Haaland, U.S. Secretary of the Interior and member of the Laguna Pueblo tribe, has also created a missing and murdered unit within the Bureau of Indian Affairs. But with so many cases continuing to go unsolved, under-investigated by law enforcement, and underreported in the media, activists have highlighted the importance of continued efforts to protect Native women and to raise public awareness around this issue. As Mary Weasel Bear told us, there are 6,000 families out there wondering about their loved ones. It's about time America wakes up and acknowledges it. And again, this is part of a blog from the TP Raisers, October 27th, 2001. So, Mary, I really would like to start with personal stories of missing and murdered Indigenous women that you are fighting and advocating for. And we do understand that these women and girls are real, and we don't want them to be forgotten. So can you please tell us about your friend, Lakota Renville, your sister-in-law, Susan Fast Eagle, Chief Eagle, and Cheryl Tia Long Soldier?
So before I share, I wanted to say I am out here to raise awareness because I want to empower us, not as people, white people, Indian people, black people, you know, I want to empower us as humans to step up and take action on this. So me and Lakota met in 2002 at Crow Creek Tribal High Schools on the Crow Creek Sioux Reservation in South Dakota. She was my older sister's. They were a little bit closer than her and I. Anyways, she graduated high school, went on her way, you know, and then we didn't hear from Lakota for a while. And then in 2005, we heard that she was found in Independence, Missouri. Her body was dumped on a vacant lot in the 9200 block of Pitcher Road. It's important that I say that because somebody might hear or somebody might know that address or seen something. So her body was dumped in a vacant lot, and we were able to bring her home, but her murder's still unsolved. We're 16 years now. When her murder got turned over to the Kansas City Police Department, it was deemed not important. I don't know why it wasn't important. Maybe because she was already gone. Maybe because she was an Indigenous woman. But we were able to bring her home. She's buried on her homelands up in Sisseton, on the Sisseton Reservation. And then my sister-in-law, Susan, she went missing in May. On May 3rd, 2021 was the last time she was seen, from Rapid City, South Dakota, which, you know, Susan's been in my family for a really, really long time. She's kind of a quiet one, like Lakota too, very shy. But like so many people, we deal with our own demons, and she took a path that maybe, you know, put her into vulnerable situations. I'm not saying it's her fault, but it became a little bit more personal when Susan went missing, because she has a 13-year-old daughter, my niece. We call her Sadie Bug. She asked me in June of this past summer, she said to me, "Auntie, can you help me find my mom, please?" And so that's why it makes me emotional, but it also gave me a bigger purpose. You know, I have to help my niece. So I communicate every day with my niece. I check in on her. And then we currently have a young lady missing out here on Pine Ridge. I've never met her myself. Her name is Cheryl Tia Long Soldier. And I've been helping the family. I've been in direct contact with her grandmother. And we've been, you know, helping with food and clothes for her family because now the grandmother is taking care of her kids. So we've been helping in those ways. And then I know today we had a meeting with the sheriff of Oglala, Lakota County, and they're, you know, they have efforts on the ground. We need more manpower is what we need. More people to get out into the field and help search. But it kind of makes me really emotional because she has a 5-year-old kid, you know, and when we went to the house, it was really sad because the little kid asked if we were going to help her find her mom. So, so those 3 ladies, there's a lot of other ladies out there. There's a lot more, and I'm sorry, I'm just...
It's okay. I want to say, when we first made an announcement, a plea for information for Cheryl Tia Long Soldier, I have to say, when you first gave me the information, the first thing that I saw was my name. So I was looking at my name, and it made me think, and it made me realize that it could have been me. It could have been one of my sisters. It could have been, you know, one of my daughters. It could have been anyone. And so it made me think. And so, I mean, to the family and friends of these women and girls who may be listening, you know, I want to say that I am sorry. And you are important. Your child is important. Your sister is important. Your mother is important. And I also want to say, you know, sometimes all of us, we just go down different pathways in our lives. You know, sometimes we just do some stuff we shouldn't be doing. But, you know, regardless of the decisions that you make, no one has the right to hurt you. No one has the right to do anything to you. No family should have to deal with a child or a loved one being missing. So to me, a lifestyle doesn't matter because we're dealing with people. We're dealing with women. So I want to emphasize that point. And as you were saying earlier, this is a plea to humans, you know, white, Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, Asian, African, across the globe. It's a plea to humanity to open your eyes and to do something, to put forth the same effort that you would want if it was you, if it was your family, if it was your loved one. I'm telling you, I can't fully explain it, but it did something to me when I saw my name on, you know, this information because, you know, it could have been me. And so I know that this is a difficult time for you. I really appreciate you being here. Jen appreciates you being here to take this time to give the information, to raise awareness, to help us in our knowledge and our understanding. So we thank you for being here. Jen, I want to ask you if you have any questions or comments.
I mean, what you said was beautiful, and I just want to echo all of that. Mary, my heart breaks for you, your community, and your family, and we all just want justice. That's a very human thing to want, and you know, everybody deserves it. Everybody deserves to to know what happened to their family member. Nobody should be in the dark or guessing. And I specifically want to echo Tia's comments about there is nothing that you can do that gives permission to anybody else to put their hands on you, to injure you, violate you, kill you. There is nothing that equals that, nothing at all. And so I think it's important, especially when dealing with something as insidious and as polarizing as domestic violence, violence against women, that we specifically call that out.
So I wanted to share some information from the Learning Network newsletter, and then Mary, I want to give you the floor to proceed as you feel. I don't want to push you or anything. I right now I really want to follow your lead for what feels comfortable for you. So I want to share this information, and then we'll just go back to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine.
So this is from the Learning Network newsletter, issue 25. We've previously shared some of this information. The article is written by the Ontario Native Women's Association. So on Indigenous women and violence, the rates of violence, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit women in Ontario experience domestic violence, assault, homicide, and sexual exploitation at significantly greater rates than other women in the province. Indigenous women and girls are 3 times more likely than non-Indigenous women to report having been a victim of violent crime. This higher rate of victimization was seen in stranger, acquaintance, and intimate partner violence. Ontario is one of the major hubs for sex trafficking in Canada. This type of sexual exploitation affects vulnerable people everywhere. Those most at risk are young women, many of them Indigenous women and girls. Root causes of violence. Deep-seated colonial attitudes perpetuate racism and discrimination. These factors are compounded by the misogyny and sexism feeding violence against women across Ontario. Colonialism is more than attitudes. It results in laws, regulation, and policy that has existed in different iterations now and into the future. Colonialism imposed patriarchal attitudes on traditional societies. These views disrupted Indigenous cultures that had long honored and respected women in their balanced roles with men. Attempted assimilation included the abuses of the residential school system. These schools operated in Ontario for more than 150 years. This system cut generations of youth off from their cultures, values, families, and communities. The lingering impact continues to affect families and communities this day. And again, this is a portion of an article from the Learning Network newsletter, issue 25, written by the Ontario Native Women's Association. And so, Mary, as we go back to you, what would you like to share with us?
A friend of mine, he said to me one day, he said, missing and murdered Indigenous women is not just Native America's problem or epidemic. It's America's epidemic, and it should be on America's conscience. So, and another remark to that, I was doing a presentation in Colorado, and the group that I was presenting to were predominantly white young ladies. And when I got done, when we started doing the Q&A, one of the girls came over to me and she said, "It makes me really sad that Indigenous women are represented by a number." And it really hit me because I was like, you ain't lying, you know? Mm-hmm. So I want to share a little bit of some of the statistics that I did research on. According to the National Crime Information Center, There are 5,712 missing and murdered Indigenous people in the U.S. And according to the Department of Justice, only 117 of those cases were logged into the missing persons database. In South Dakota, this past year, when the numbers came out, there's 170 people in South Dakota missing. 70 of those people are Indigenous people. And it's shocking. It's really shocking because when we go back and look at the United States' numbers, 32% of those women are Indigenous women, or missing people are Indigenous women. And not only is our murder rate 10 times higher, it's also the third leading cause for Native American women to be murdered, not only on the reservation, but also off the reservation. And I think what's really, really baffling about it, or is shocking about it, is Indigenous people only make up 2% of the United States' population. Yeah. Only 2%. And our numbers are through the roof. And that young girl that came to me, she when she told me that, she made a really, really valid point, but she also added fuel to my fire, because I don't want my sister-in-law Susan Fastigo, our Lakota Renville, our Tia Long Soldier, our Larissa Lone Hill. I don't want them to be represented by a number. I want them to be represented by their name and who they are. So that really resonated with me. And then there's so many factors that lead into this, and I would like to reiterate what Miss May said. Our lifestyles shouldn't set us apart from anybody or anything. Okay. It shouldn't matter if I lived on the streets and somebody hurt me, you know? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And so our justice system, it shouldn't matter if we're Indigenous, if we live on a reservation, you know?
Right.
That shouldn't even be a factor, but it seems to be a factor. We have a young lady missing right here, just a few miles down the road from my house. Just a few miles. We had Gabby Petito go missing in Wyoming. Why? And according to treaties, the federal government, this is a federal crime. This missing person is a federal crime. So the federal government, why aren't they pooling resources like they did for Gabby Petito? Why aren't they pulling all these FBI agents from all these offices in the Midwest and bringing them to Pine Ridge, to Ogallala, to help us look for this young lady? And you can't say it's not a race thing when everything is pointing to it being a race thing.
Right. And
then we go back to like I said, there's many factors that play into this, you know, like the poverty that we live in, the boarding school error, you know, kill the Indian, save the man, sending these kids home broken, the loss of identity. So many things play into it, but also so many things should play into resolving these. It can't be one-sided anymore.
Yeah.
Do you guys?
Mm-hmm. So, Mary, can you tell us about the TP Raisers and what ways you're helping to raise awareness and educate on missing and murdered Indigenous women with the TP Raisers and the Gen 7 youth?
Yeah. So the TP Raisers is a nonprofit. We're multicultural, so we try to work with all walks of life to help alleviate poverty and work and play together. It's been going really good. I'm very honored and proud to be a part of the TP Raiser family. And then so one of the programs we have is the Gen 7 Youth Leadership Program. And through Gen 7, it gives us opportunity to get out into the community, also to bring our children off or from the reservation and help them to explore other things outside of our home lives. Mm-hmm. We also want to, one thing that I'm personally big on, and that TP Raisers provides a platform for me to, and Gen 7 to really share with the kids, is self-care. I talk to the kids about, we see all these things going on in our homes around us everywhere we go, and we can't control it. We can't control those. Mm-hmm. We can't control how mom's day went. We can't control how dad's day went, but we can control how we react to it and how it affects us. Mm-hmm. So that was one thing that I really appreciate about being a part of TP Raisers and Gen 7, that I have those opportunities to explore and even implement into with the kids.
Wow. So, Luv Bay, we want to welcome you again to Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, with a replay on Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. And Luv Bay, we are still rising out of the ashes together. I want to take a moment to share some more resources, and then Jen, I will go to you for our next question. So we have Ontario Native Women's Association. Their website is www.onwa.ca. Their email address is onwa@onwa.ca. Their phone number is 1-800-667-0816. We also have Strong Hearts Native Helpline. Their website is strongheartshelpline.org. Their phone number is 1-844-762-8483. And then we have the Canadian Women's Foundation. CanadianWomen.org is their website. Their phone number is 1-866-293-4483. Their email address is info@CanadianWomen.org. And again, we want to give the website for the TP Raisers, which is the TheTPRaisers.org. The TPRaisers.org. And Mary, I want to ask you, would the Pine Ridge Oglala Sioux Tribal Police Department, is that the number we should give if anyone has information for? Okay, so we want to share the phone number for the Pine Ridge Oglala Sioux Tribal Police Department is 605-867-5111 or 605-867-5141. To make an anonymous tip, you can text RCPD and your tip to 847-411, or you can call 1-800-225-5324. If you have any information on Cheryl Tia Long Soldier, if you have any information on Lakota Renville, or if you have information for Susan Fast Eagle Chief Eagle, please call. Jen, we'll go to you for our next question or comment.
Great, thank you. Mary, I just want to thank you for sharing thank you for sharing, period, but also thank you for sharing what your friend said about this not just being a Native American problem, it's an American problem. And yes, I agree. And that there are so many things that led, like you said before, there are so many things that lead to these issues. And it's everybody's responsibility to be involved. So thank you. And thank you for leading the charge. With the TP Raisers and the youth program that you have through that, how do you involve the youth in raising awareness? I mean, it's obviously very much a part of their life anyway, but in specifically violence against women or missing and murdered Indigenous women? How do you involve the youth in that?
We have been really, because of COVID, we've been really restricted as far as spaces to go, But when I do get a chance to meet with them, we actually had a meeting last month. I always like to do a circle with them and talk, writing, encouraging them to stay active in their sports. And it is really tough with COVID. It's really taken a toll mentally on a lot of people. I'm not just going to say kids, a lot of people. And so, but through teepee raisers, we're able to, when we can, we provide trips for them, horseback riding, community service projects. The talking circle is really big within the teepee raiser circle too. So we do a lot of that. Sweat, we can offer sweats, different kind of ceremonial things that we can provide for them when it's doable.
Yeah, that's great. What is, obviously this is very personal for you, and I'm sure there are a lot of people in your community. And there are certain spaces where it's being talked about more. It's still not enough. But in those spaces, what do you find is often a misconception when speaking about missing and murdered Indigenous women?
I think right now at this point, I want to say from my own experience and from seeing what I've seen, a lot of people think that we as our Indigenous women, or maybe even women in general, they think that we put ourselves in these positions. And nobody put themselves out there to be like, oh yeah, kidnap me and throw me in the Badlands. Nobody's done that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big things. And another thing is, so I've been fortunate to go out onto the East Coast and share here in different areas. And another thing is, it's hard to believe that people don't believe that Indigenous people exist still, So that part is just like, wow, where have you been, under a rock,
Yeah.
So I think just from what I've seen, those would be two of the big misconceptions.
Yeah, that is, I didn't realize the second one either, that people didn't acknowledge that Indigenous people exist, which would again, of course, make your fight just that much harder.
Right. And I always get asked, do you guys still live in teepees out there in South Dakota? Or how did you get out here to Washington, D.C.? Or how did you get here? Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I can't believe that.
And I couldn't believe it when the guy first asked me if I lived in a teepee. I was in the airport. I was at the airport, Ronald Reagan. I couldn't believe that.
Wow.
I don't even know what to say to that. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I always should have been like, I put my teepee poles on top of the plane and I got my... I'm going to just pass the hotel tonight. I'm going to just set up camp somewhere.
But you know what? Sadly, it speaks to the level of unawareness and the level of ignorance that is still out there. And on so many different levels, on so many different issues, the ignorance that still thrives amongst domestic violence issues, sexual assault. It's like she was wearing whatever she was wearing, so it was her fault. I mean, it
Yeah.
just speaks to the level of ignorance that is there, which makes it even more important for you to be doing what you do. And again, I appreciate what it is that you are doing. And in that vein, I want to ask you this question. What do you have planned next in your awareness and advocating efforts? So I know you participated in the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women Bike Run USA. So like, what else do you have planned to do or to participate in?
So yesterday I got a really good phone call. We are going to start planning for this next coming year's bike ride across the U.S. So that's one thing that's going to be an ongoing thing, and I'm very honored to be a part of that team. That team was led by my good friend Dwayne Lawrence Garvey. Mm-hmm. He's from Washington State. He's currently advocating for MMIP within the state legislation in Washington. He spoke to the state legislators yesterday to bring a bill to bring more resources to tribal police department. So he's a really good guy. He's on Facebook. I told him I was going to talk about him too. And then, so for me personally, I just want to educate as much people as I can. So any opportunity that I get to speak about missing and murdered Indigenous women, to get to speak about Lakota and Susan, it's an opportunity, because somebody's going to know something, somebody's going to say something. That's my hope. Mm-hmm. And then with Teepee Raisers, we are currently working with the youth. I got like 6 youth now that we're going to start working on a music project. We want to do this song, a music video, and then a little concert that we're going to premiere the video in honor of all the loved ones we're fighting for. And that's going to drop on May 5th here in Oglala, South Dakota. And May 5th is an important day. May 5th is the National Remembrance Day for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women. So we're going to do that day to honor. There's another young lady that I didn't, her name is Annie Chifigo. And I've been in contact with her mother. Her body was found on the side of the road in 2012. And she still hasn't gotten any justice. So we want to honor Annie Chifigo by doing this concert and where her body was found in the community over. And so working with the kids, helping them, doing writing. I've always used writing as an expression of myself and a way to release a lot of things. So I encourage them through that. And also I want to highlight their voices, the youth, they got some really, really pretty voices. Like the girls they're just so amazing. And they get just shy whenever I'm like, just sing, you're okay, it's fine. No, I'm teasing. But those are obstacles that we got to get over, and we will get over together. So encouraging them to use that voice. And so with the music project, we're going to be doing that. We're also talking about memorializing sites where young ladies were found or where they went missing. So those are just a couple things that are in the works. I am also hoping to get, we had another meeting today, and we're looking at a mounted patrol to help with searches. I mean, it's not going to be specifically for that. I mean, we're just laying the groundwork right now. So those are just a few things that we are looking at to implement in the communities. And then obviously we got a couple of speaking engagements coming up, but I want to push it more toward the youth so that when we go out into these speaking engagements, people will hear from them. I feel like, everybody's voice is important. Everybody's voice. but I feel like it'll resonate more hearing it from these young kids.
Jen, do you have a question?
I love that. I love I love all of the ideas, but the video or the and the premiere with the kids, I think that's incredibly special and has to be like healing in a very circular way. So I love that. And I also love the idea of memorializing the spots. I think it's important, you know, we talk a lot on here about how it's important not to shy away from language that makes other people uncomfortable, if it's true. And it's important to, you know, call abuse what it is, call survivorship what it is. And so I think that there's something poignant and beautiful about these spots, the memorializing these places. I just think that's a beautiful expression.
So Mary, when I speak to individuals or groups, pretty much whomever I speak to about the issues of domestic violence and all that comes with it, I always bring up that domestic violence does not just affect the victim or the survivor. It affects the children involved. It affects parents, family, and friends. And so I'm not asking you to speak for everyone, but I want to give voice to the family and friends of these missing and murdered Indigenous women. So would there be something that, you know, you would like to say, or something that, you know, the family and friends would like to say on behalf of their loved ones, because they are affected truly also?
So I had a conversation with Lakota's mother about 3 months ago. She says to me, their silence is an injustice to my daughter, and I think that every single family feels that way.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm truly at a loss for words. I just I did not know all that I know now about missing and murdered Indigenous women until I came into contact with you, Mary. And I've tried to learn, and I've tried to, you know, advocate and help in ways that I can. But I truly am just, I'm shocked. And I agree that silence is an injustice. It just never would have crossed my mind that there could be 6,000 missing women and there are no answers. Nothing. Not only are there no answers, but it seems that no one is trying to find them. No one is trying to get justice for these family members and friends. I just it's beyond me. I would ask, what do you want for listeners to know and understand? Well, I guess another thing that you would want listeners to know and understand about the pandemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women.
It's an epidemic, you know, missing and murdered Indigenous women, not just here in the United States and Canada. I'm sure it's everywhere. I'm positive it's everywhere. But I think people need to know that if you know something and you're too scared to say something, you're causing a lot of pain for a lot of families. And so I am not trying to be rude. And I know maybe there's somebody out there listening that knows somebody who's been murdered or who's missing, to quit being a coward.
Yeah.
You know? To quit being a coward, come forward and say something, whether it's in Canada, whether it's here in Pine Ridge. Because Miss Lakota Renville's mother is right. Your silence is an injustice to her daughter. To her, she could have been a mother. She could have, she's an auntie. So your silence is an injustice, and there's nothing more that you can do to help a family if you need to speak up. Right. People need to speak up. People need to stop being afraid to use their voices to speak up and to bring justice to these families, because somebody knows something about every single person that's missing and every single person that's murdered. Somebody knows something.
Right.
And no, you shouldn't give anybody the power over you to keep you quiet. That's why you have a voice, to use it.
Yes. As an African American, I know firsthand there are conversations that need to be had with young African American men. Like if you have a son who is African American, a brother, whomever, somewhere along the line he has had the preparation and a conversation. This is how you deal with police. This is what you do. This is what you don't do, because you're Black. That's a normal and a natural conversation. I have 4 daughters, so I can't imagine how heartbreaking it would be to have to sit with my 4 daughters and tell them, because you are Native American, these are the preparations that I need to lay before you. It's just, you can walk out of your door and just disappear one day. I as a mother, I just can't imagine that heartbreaking conversation. And to just think, just being a mom in general, you're there's an anxiousness that you have. You want to send your child out to school, and you hope 3:30 they come home at the end of the day and they're okay. But to be in an atmosphere where literally it's at any time they can just disappear and no one's going to help you look for them, and you could just not know anything, that is just absolutely heartbreaking. And I agree, and I add to your plea, if there is anyone who has any kind of information, to speak up and say something. It is going to take the nation as a whole. We all have to stop saying, this is not my problem, it doesn't affect me, I'm over here on the left or I'm over here on the right, I've got nothing to do with it. We need to come together and start helping each other and start focusing on what really matters. What really matters is that we are human, and we all have a right to live and to be loved and to be able to just function, as a decent human being, and no one should have the right or authority to take that away. And it's really sad that that's the state that we are in. It's sad that we have to have this conversation right now. And it's sad that, again, it's just heartbreaking, the preparation that mothers would have to have with their children in this situation.
Yeah.
You're talking about your daughters, and I always try to put myself into a position where, I have nieces. I don't have children of my own, but I always try to put myself in a position to be more compassionate, like yes. when I speak with Miss Good Voice Out, Tia's grandmother, I try to put myself there so I can relate to her and understand her a little bit better. Same, with my friend. And then I started thinking about my nieces when you started talking about your daughters. My little sister they're really good with their daughters. They really educate them and make them aware of their surroundings. And unfortunately, they have to prepare them for anything, like you said. And so my nieces, they go around with pepper sprays and whistles. So with Wichoni Wakan, which is a family movement that I've been involved with for a really long time. We in collaboration with Gen 7 TP Raisers, we started this Whistle for Help campaign. So we try to also educate people to use those whistles to blow and make as much noise as you can if you're into a dangerous situation. So that wouldn't be a bad idea to, educate your daughters on things like that too. Anybody and everybody. And if anybody's interested in the Whistle for Help campaign, like I said, you could hit my email address. We got cards, we got whistles, we're willing to send out.
Yeah. Awesome. Jen, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah. So, we're talking about the human responsibility that we have to each other. Yeah. And this is a very large question, and I don't expect you to answer it fully, but from your perspective, what does advocacy look like, especially for people who aren't as familiar with the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous women?
Using my voice and educating, and through education, also using my voice.
Yeah.
So I believe my voice is the most powerful weapon that I have. And so that's why I put it out there as much as I can.
Yeah. And how can we join you?
There are a lot of ways to join. There's so many options available. I think we might be coming down, but the Whistle for Help campaign, we're always looking for whistles for people to donate, to do fundraisers for that. Or if you want to do a drive and you want to donate to something for the MMIW, you could go on the TP Raiser website, make a donation and put it under MMIW. Be specific if you want it to go to a specific place. And, we'll make sure it gets there. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to share the number again for the Pine Ridge Oglala Sioux Tribal Police Department. The number is 605-867-5111 or 605-867-5141. For an anonymous tip, you can text the letters RCPD and your tip to 847-411, or you can call 1-800-225-5324. And so again, if you have any information on Cheryl Tia Long Soldier, on Lakota Renville, or Susan Fast Eagle, Chief Eagle, or any other missing and murdered Indigenous women, please call or text the Pine Ridge Oglala Sioux Tribal Police Department. And ladies, we're just under the hour, and so Mary, I want to give you the final moments for anything that you would like to say or to share.
I first of all want to say thank you to Luv Bay Afrobeats Music Talk Radio. Miss Tia, Miss Jennifer, I want to thank you guys for this opportunity. And I hope that we can come together and collaborate on more, maybe, do something down the road. And again, we just want to reiterate the TP Razor website, tprazors.org. And my grandmother told my mom one time, you have to tell people that life is sacred. In my language, in the Lakota language, it says, Wichoni Walkam, which translates to life is sacred. So I just want people to remember that everybody's life is sacred. And again, thank you guys for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Jen, do you have any final words?
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Mary, for coming and sharing your heart and your experience. It's the most valuable thing that you can share with us, and to be vulnerable and put yourself out there for something that's very emotional and makes you very vulnerable. I just really want to honor that and respect you for that. So yeah, I definitely echo going to visit the tprazors.org. There is a lot of resources on there. And if you're looking to learn, which we all should be, then it's a great place to start.
For sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you again, Mary, for being here with us. I have to say, I feel really inadequate in this moment, like facing this issue. I truly wish there was something that I could do. I really do. But I thank you for what you are doing. I thank you for the family and friends that you are representing. And we would love for you to come back and be with us again on a future. Hopefully we can continue to help you in your purposes of advocating. Luv Bay, if you want to catch up on some previous episodes of the program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We want to thank you for joining Suffering in Silence with Tia May on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music. We're here every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. We are rising out of the ashes together, and we say thank you again to our co-host, Jennifer Peterkin, and our guest for the evening, Mary Weasel Bear of TP Razors. Good evening.